So in this segment, we're going to be discussing Tory fraud on the Brexit deals. So this is Kemi, and I want to talk about her specifically in a different context as well, because she's done something and gotten away with something cabinet ministers should not be allowed to do, even shadow cabinet ministers.
Yeah, my question is that as you, Kemi Badenoch, you voted for Brexit, how well you think the British economy is going, especially as we were the first economy in trade history to raise barriers with our major trading partners, and the trade deals done so far are really very small and a small beer compared with the trade arrangement of the EU. Thank you.
So we haven't, certainly we didn't originally raise barriers. We actually didn't raise
We raised barriers by leaving the EU. We knew how third countries are treated.
barriers. The EU did, and that was one of the risks.
We had the trade barriers put up because we wanted to be a third country and leave the single market. That's why. And the customs union. That's why these trade barriers are up. Don't blame the EU when we're the ones who did this. It's like divorcing someone and being mad you can't go back into the house you used to own. You lost it in the divorce, pal.
Risks I think that we were aware of, that there might be some retaliation for us leaving.
It's not retaliation. Like, this is such clown language, and the fact that the guy who's the host, Ian Dale, doesn't hit back at it shows you why we have the problems we have. It's not retaliation. This is the nature of being a third country. Like, I can't believe a government minister's getting away with this sort of language, honestly.
But you are about to impose barriers.
Yes, but the reason why, and this is one of the interesting things about how these things play out. The reason why is because we have a lot of stakeholders, farmers, for example, who want a level playing field, and this is where the tension between the free markets and the protectionism.
No, it's the farmers, but also the WTO as well. We're in breach of WTO rules on most favourable nations.
Comes in that if you pick a free market, free trade strategy, you need to, again, risk appetite comes into it. You need to decide how far you are going to go. But what I would stress is that we do have the most comprehensive free trade agreement with the EU. No other country in the world has this. So the trade deals which we are doing are in addition to that, not instead of. And many people talk about the benefits being so small. You look at the figures for what's happened with trade with Australia since we signed the FTA, far more than any of the models predicted. You know, it is going down.
Again, they gas up these models, right? And it's literally like only a couple of percentage points, like 0.0, some of these trade deals. And they don't match up anywhere near compared to the EU trade we lost. Like, they always gas up, they talk about the raw numbers, but they'll never talk about the raw numbers we actually lost with the EU trade.
Gangbusters. We are now the fourth largest exporter in the world. On services exporters, we are doing brilliantly. I think we're the second largest
you are pushing up barriers.
in the world.
The fourth largest, I mean, what were we before? Were we lower than fourth? Like, who? Like, I don't get it. Like, you're saying we are now the fourth largest. Like, we were already a massive service exporter anyways. Who else are we exporting services to? Like, it's weird.
Yes, but other things have come down. So we've removed tariffs, for example. We've removed loads of tariffs, and the cost of living crisis has actually hidden quite a lot of what has been done. We've removed tariffs on lots of products, which became cheaper, but inflation has masked. But
if you're a
such as what products did you do that to?
delicatessen owner in Britain, I can't remember when this comes in, but it's imminent if it hasn't already happened, and you're importing cheeses from Italy, for example, you're going to be faced with a bill for every time you import them up to £145. Now that cannot be absorbed by the import.
He's talking about like VAT certificates and stuff like that.
So it's going to have to be passed on to the consumer. Therefore, inflation goes up again.
So, in a manner of speaking, inflation, there are lots of different products that will have more of an impact on inflation than others. But
so this is to do with the basket of goods. So what they can do is, the Bank of England can be quite sneaky, and I think this is stuff they've done before. What they do is they'll add in goods that haven't faced a lot of inflation into the basket of goods, and that makes the inflation number lower. So say, for example, if these cheeses got about 30%, what the Bank of England can do is switch them out for a different thing, and then say, look, inflation's not that bad. Because, you know, we've all seen the shop prices. They're ridiculously high.
You know, interest rates and so on, those are the things that will really have an impact. The owner of that delicatessen is also able to source cheaper products from all over the world.
But evidently they don't want to do that because maybe the customers want specific Italian cheeses. Maybe they want their Parmigiano Reggiano. Maybe they want their champagne. Maybe they want things that can only be sourced from the EU, or maybe they're the best ones to get it from. Or maybe geography gets in the way because you can't import, you know, fresh cheeses from across the world. I don't know. You know, like, I genuinely don't get it, you know. I don't know about, Canada, for example, but Asia, like, cheese isn't that big a deal. Like, I don't think there's a ton of people eating cheese. It's not in the Indian subcontinent, anyways. So unless these people are going to swap their Parmigiano and I can't remember the other cheeses that they have. They got some good ones for paneer. Like, this is not going to go down well. There's a couple other clips I want to talk about here. So with Badenoch, she voted against the smoking ban, which, as a government minister, you're not meant to go against government policy. So she should have resigned over it or been sacked, but she wasn't.
Jostling for after the election. It's almost like they're not pitching at the electorate, at this electorate anymore. They're pitching at the electorate after this. Kemi Badenoch, I thought that was quite extraordinary. A cabinet minister rejecting her prime minister's legacy. She stood there with the rest of them at Conservative conference. This was their big offering. We're taking decisions for the long term. That was the kind of temporary slogan back in November, October.
So it's a bit bizarre, like, the decision making she's done in terms of voting against, the leader's policy. But whatever. I want to talk about this geezer here, right? Because he just makes stuff up. Lord Jackson, I think his name. Yeah, Lord Jackson, his name is.
The bigger picture, of course, is we've done deals with Mexico, Singapore, South Korea, Japan.
And are they making up for the deficit from leaving?
Well, they will do over a period of time.
Won't.
This is a projection, these figures. And actually, the inflation figures are a projection as to what the impact will be. I don't think given that only 8% of our food imports come from the European Union.
Okay, so he said 8% of our food imports come from the European Union. I don't know where he's got that, because Statista have the latest figures. About 23% of our food come from an EU origin within the United Kingdom. So I don't know where he's getting that number from.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
So that seems to be his source there.
And the wider point I would say is that 30 years ago, the European Union, by dollar denomination, was 30% of world trade. Within the next 15 years, it will be about 14%.
All right. Well,
so we're looking outwards. We're not looking.
Right. What are you saying to?
So number one, floristry is a £4.2 billion industry in this country, and they are really, really struggling at the moment. There are florists in every constituency in the land. I'm only looking at my phone because I forget the names of these flowers. No, I haven't got an appointment. Some flowers have been. I don't know why these particular flowers have been designated by the UK as medium risk, and therefore have to go through a special system, including orchidaceae, dianthus, gypsophila and solidago.
Good pronunciation. I'm glad I didn't have to read those.
Gypsophila. I might have got that wrong. But the point is that for businesses, because it's very time critical whether they get their flowers in and out, it's an additional £350 to £500 a day cost to them. Businesses are going to go bust.
And so we've seen that in the Netherlands, actually, where some of the companies that make tulips or farm tulips, they've talked about the problems they're going to have, exporting to Britain, where they export them normally around Valentine's Day and probably Mother's Day. And they've talked about the fact that if these checks come into place, it's going to cost them a lot more money. But also the fact that they're not going to be as fresh getting into the stores, and people might not buy them as much, and it might take the UK off the market when it comes to some of these plant products. And the same goes the other way around as well, based on what he's saying, I think.
Then you can repeat all of this when it comes to medicines as well, because the supply chain through to the UK is meaning that people aren't able to get the medicines that they need.
I mean, the medicines is a really big problem, where you have pharmacies giving people different mixes of medication, and that's really messing with them. So this is actually really important. This is a lot more important than the flowers.
We should have frictionless trade, which is what we were promised by people like him when they lied to us about Brexit.
Oh, said very loudly and emphatically. Stuart, do you want to respond to that?
Well,
you lied.
perhaps Chris wasn't listening at the outset of my remarks. I did say, I always said that when you're leaving a contracting single market, to go out into the world, to grow the economy, specialised manufacturing, creative services, etc., for the wide world out there, Chris, not just this fetish on the European Union. Right? I never said there will be frictionless trade, because not least...
I wish he had the source on his phone, I'll be honest. If he had it on his phone to say, like, this is where you said it, that would have been great. But, where this brother's source is when it comes to food, I don't know. Statista got him cooked, so this man, no idea what he's talking about, honestly. And once again, the host does a poor job of asking, where do you get the 9% figure from? Where his evidence is. They just let it slide. And this is what I mean. This is the problem here with British journalism. You could say whatever you want, and you'll never get pulled up on a source. Never.
My source is that I made it.
That's honestly, this is one of the main problems we run into with certain news hosts. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.